The mockery begins. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was vast and cold. Thousands of alien leaders from different planets and species sat in their high chairs, their eyes glowing with a mix of intelligence and arrogance. They spoke of power, control, and how their civilizations had mastered the stars. The room buzzed with excitement as the topic of the day was about to begin. At the center of it all was Supreme Commander Vaxel, the leader of the Council, a tall alien with shimmering blue skin and sharp features. He had seen many species rise and fall, and the humans of Earth were nothing but a joke to him. They were nothing more than a minor species, trapped on their little planet, with no real technology to speak of. They think they can stand against us. Vaxel sneered, his voice echoing through the hall. Their ships are outdated. Their weapons are useless. They have no chance of surviving in the vastness of the galaxy. The council members chuckled, some even louder than others. A few exchanged smug glances, amused by the idea of a small, insignificant species like humanity daring to challenge the mighty galactic powers. The aliens had explored hundreds of worlds, encountered advanced civilizations, and crushed any threat that came their way. The idea that Earth, an entire planet, could pose any real threat was laughable. One of the council members, a reptilian creature with golden eyes, raised his hand. His name was Razik, and he had a reputation for being both cunning and dangerous. He had watched Earth's progress from the shadows and couldn't understand why the humans continued to push for space exploration. Supreme Commander, Razik said, his voice smooth but filled with disdain. You've spoken of humanity's weakness for years. But I propose a challenge. Let us test their technology. Let us send a single fleet to Earth and see if their puny ships can even put up a fight. It will be a true lesson in galactic power. The room fell silent. Everyone looked at each other, uncertain if Razik was serious. After a long moment, Vaxel's lips curled into a smile, one that revealed his sharp teeth. His laughter echoed through the hall. Very well, Razik, Vaxel said. We shall send a fleet. We'll show the humans that they're nothing more than an insect crawling through the stars. Let them try to defend themselves. When they fail, we will remind them of their place in the galaxy. The council erupted in laughter once again. The idea of Earth being a challenge seemed ridiculous. The humans had only recently discovered space travel, and their ships were slow and clunky compared to the sleek, advanced warships the aliens commanded. But Razik wasn't finished. He had a look of determination in his golden eyes. Let's not just attack their ships. Let's send a message that will shatter their pride, he suggested, his voice low and dangerous. We'll show them that they are nothing. We'll make sure they know their place. Vaxel thought for a moment. A chilling smile spread across his face as he nodded. Agreed. We'll show them that there is no place for weaklings in this galaxy. The council members murmured in agreement, all eager to see the humans crushed under the weight of their own insignificance. It was decided. A fleet would be sent, and Earth would be forced to bow to the might of the galaxy. But what the aliens didn't know was that their mockery of humanity was about to lead to something they could never have predicted. Meanwhile, on Earth, no one knew the Council's plans. The human governments were focused on their own struggles, political tensions, environmental issues, and social unrest. In the midst of all this, few paid attention to the space program, but there was one man who did. Jack Turner was an ordinary mechanic working on old, outdated equipment. He spent most of his days fixing broken machines and forgotten spacecrafts in a small, quiet workshop just outside a military base. Jack had always been fascinated by space. He dreamed of one day building a ship that could take humans to the stars and beyond. But his dreams were considered childish by most. After all, Earth wasn't ready for such things. Not yet. Little did Jack know, the very ship he had been working on for months, the Starlight Fury, was about to become the key to humanity's survival. It was an ancient ship left behind from a failed space mission decades ago. But Jack had always seen potential in it. He knew it could be more than just a forgotten relic. As Jack worked tirelessly in the quiet of his workshop, his fingers stained with grease, he had no idea that the entire galaxy was about to turn its attention to Earth. He didn't know that a fleet of aliens, stronger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen, was preparing to descend upon his home planet. The aliens laughed at Earth's technology, and soon they would pay the price for their arrogance. What they didn't understand was that humanity's true strength was not in the power of their ships or weapons. It was in their will to survive. And Jack, unknowingly, was about to prove it. The aliens had made a dangerous mistake. They had underestimated Earth. And soon, they would learn just how wrong they were. On Earth, life went on as usual. People were busy with their everyday struggles, unaware of the growing threat in the stars. The alien fleet had already begun its journey toward Earth, eager to prove their superiority. But they had no idea that one man, working in a small workshop, was about to change everything. Jack Turner was a mechanic, a quiet man who never sought attention. He was in his early 30s, tall and strong from years of working on heavy machinery. His hands were rough, covered with grease and oil from endless hours spent fixing old ships and spacecrafts. Despite the dirt and fatigue that came with his job, Jack had a passion for space that never died. For months, Jack had been working alone on a ship that everyone else had given up on. It was an ancient vessel called the Starlight Fury. The ship was old, rusty, and barely functional, a relic from a failed space mission years ago. Most people believed it was beyond repair, but Jack saw potential. He knew that with the right upgrades, this ship could be something special. The thought of one day flying it into the stars had always excited him, but the reality was always out of reach. No one cared about old ships like the Starlight Fury anymore. Jack's friends and colleagues thought he was wasting his time. "That thing's nothing but a pile of scrap," they would say, shaking their heads as they worked on newer, sleeker ships. They didn't understand his obsession, but Jack didn't care. He had always felt a strange connection to the ship, like it was meant for something more. What they didn't know was that Jack wasn't just fixing the Starlight Fury to fly it for fun. He was rebuilding it for something much bigger. Over the past few months, Jack had secretly been upgrading the ship with the latest technology, tech that wasn't supposed to be available to civilians. He had scavenged parts from the most advanced military ships, and in his spare time, he learned everything he could about cutting-edge space technology. His goal wasn't just to make the Starlight Fury fly again. He wanted to turn it into the most powerful ship ever built, and he had already made incredible progress. The ship's exterior was completely repaired, its hull reinforced with a special alloy that made it almost invincible to enemy fire. The engines were upgraded, allowing it to reach incredible speeds. But Jack's true masterpiece lay inside, the ship's core. He had installed a new type of energy reactor, one that would give the Starlight Fury almost limitless power. This reactor was capable of unleashing devastating energy blasts, enough to destroy entire fleets. Still, Jack didn't know that his work was about to become humanity's last hope. One evening, as Jack wiped sweat from his brow and surveyed his progress, a voice crackled through his communicator. It was a call from his old friend, Captain Maria Hayes, who worked at the nearby military base. "Jack, you need to come to the base." "Now," Maria said, her voice urgent. "Something's happening." Jack's heart raced. He could hear the fear in her voice, something he had never heard before. "What's going on?" he asked, his mind racing. "There's been a report. A fleet of aliens is heading toward Earth. They're coming to destroy us." "You need to come to the base immediately," Maria said, her voice sharp with urgency. Jack's blood ran cold. Aliens? Coming to destroy Earth? He had heard stories about other species in the galaxy, but he never thought they would come for Earth. He didn't know what to do. Should he help? Or was this just another false alarm? But deep down, he knew the answer. He had spent months preparing for a moment like this. His ship, the Starlight Fury, was ready. He wasn't going to let Earth fall without a fight. "I'll be there," Jack said, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped him. He grabbed his toolkit, checked the ship's systems one last time, and raced toward the launch pad. When Jack arrived at the military base, he could see the panic in the air. Soldiers rushed around, trying to prepare for the unknown. The base commander, General Thomas, was in a meeting with several high-ranking officers. As soon as Jack walked in, he was noticed. "Jack, you're here," General Thomas said, eyeing him with a mix of surprise and confusion. "We've got reports of an alien fleet coming to Earth. You've heard, I assume." Jack nodded. "I've heard, and I've got a ship that can help. I've been working on it. It's called the Starlight Fury." The general raised an eyebrow. "The Starlight Fury, that old wreck." "It's not a wreck anymore," Jack replied. "It's ready." Maria stepped forward. "Jack's right. We've seen what that ship can do. It's our best shot." The officers exchanged uncertain glances. They didn't know Jack, and they definitely didn't know the Starlight Fury, but they didn't have time to argue. They needed something, anything, to fight back. "All right," General Thomas said. "We'll give you a chance, but you're on your own, Jack. The rest of the fleet is already mobilizing. If you can help, do it quickly." Jack didn't need any more encouragement. He rushed for the launch pad, his heart pounding in his chest. The aliens were coming, and the Starlight Fury was going to be the one to stop them. In the darkness of space, the alien fleet was moving closer to Earth. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Jack Turner, the unassuming mechanic, was about to prove that humanity was not as weak as the galaxy thought. The Starlight Fury was no longer just a forgotten ship. It was Earth's last hope. The stars twinkled peacefully as Jack Turner sat in the cockpit of the Starlight Fury. The ship was no longer the rusted, forgotten relic it had once been. It was powerful, sleek, and ready for battle. Jack's fingers hovered over the control panel as he looked out through the large viewports. His heart pounded in his chest, but his mind was clear. The alien fleet was coming, and Earth's survival rested on his shoulders. As Jack activated the engines, the ship hummed to life. The sound was steady and reassuring, a reminder that everything he had worked for was now a reality. The Starlight Fury's upgraded engines powered up, pushing the ship forward with incredible speed. It was time to face the threat head-on. Meanwhile, on the surface of Earth, chaos was unfolding. News of the alien fleet's arrival had spread quickly. Governments scrambled to prepare, but the truth was, they were outmatched. The aliens had superior technology, faster ships, and deadly weapons. Earth's military was strong, but no one believed they stood a chance against the advanced forces coming their way. At the military base, General Thomas watched as Jack's ship lifted off into the sky. He had his doubts, but there was no time for hesitation. The alien fleet was nearly in range, and they were showing no signs of stopping. All they could do now was pray that Jack's ship could hold its ground. Jack's voice crackled over the comms. "This is Jack Turner. I'm heading into position. I'll try to buy us some time. Don't wait for me. Just do whatever you can to defend Earth." General Thomas responded, his voice filled with urgency. "Be careful, Jack. You're on your own out there. We'll do what we can from here." Jack nodded, though no one could see him. He had no illusions about the danger. The Starlight Fury might be powerful, but it wasn't invincible. The alien ships were coming, and he had to face them, one way or another. The alien fleet, a massive group of sleek, terrifying warships, entered the solar system with terrifying speed. Their leader, Commander Vaxel, watched the human planet closely. He could already feel the power of their weapons, and he was eager to destroy Earth and teach the humans their place. "Deploy all forces," Vaxel ordered. "We show them no mercy. They think they can challenge us. We will crush them and make an example of their planet." The alien ships moved into position, ready to launch their attack. They didn't even consider the possibility that a single human ship could pose a threat to their mighty fleet. As Jack approached the alien fleet, he felt a wave of nervousness wash over him. He had never faced anything like this before. He was just a mechanic after all. But there was no turning back now. He had to fight for Earth, for humanity, and for everything he had worked for. The Starlight Fury emerged from the darkness of space, its weapons systems coming online as Jack prepared to engage the enemy. He had installed advanced weapons into the ship, but even with all the upgrades, he knew the odds were still stacked against him. The aliens had the numbers, the firepower, and the experience. But what they didn't have was the heart of humanity. Jack targeted the nearest alien ship and fired. The Starlight Fury unleashed a massive energy blast, striking the alien vessel with a direct hit. The alien ship shuddered, its shields flickering. It wasn't enough to destroy it, but it was a warning shot. Jack grinned, his confidence growing. He fired again, this time hitting the weak spot in the alien ship's hull. The blast tore through the ship's shields, causing a massive explosion. The alien ship crumpled, falling apart in space. Jack's heart raced, but he didn't have time to celebrate. More ships were coming. The aliens responded quickly, their own weapons lighting up as they launched retaliatory blasts at the Starlight Fury. Jack dodged and weaved, his hands flying across the controls. His ship's shields flared brightly as the alien fire hit, but it held strong, deflecting most of the damage. He wasn't sure how long the Starlight Fury could withstand such a barrage. But he wasn't about to give up. Another alien ship closed in on him, its massive guns locked on target. Jack felt the ship's warning systems blare, signaling an incoming attack. He swerved sharply, narrowly avoiding the blast. The ship behind him wasn't so lucky. The energy blast slammed into its hull, tearing it apart in an instant. Jack's heart pounded as the debris from the destroyed ship floated past him. "This is it," Jack muttered to himself. "I have to finish this." Jack aimed the Starlight Fury's powerful cannons at the lead alien ship, locking onto its engines. He fired once more, the ship's weapons roaring to life. The blast struck the alien ship, and this time, it wasn't just a warning. The ship exploded in a fiery ball of light, sending shockwaves through space. For a moment, there was silence. But it didn't last long. More alien ships continued to pour in from the darkness of space, and Jack knew this was only the beginning. His victory over the first ship was just a small win in the grand scheme of the battle. He had made his mark, but the war wasn't over yet. The alien fleet wasn't backing down. They were here to conquer. And Jack Turner, the mechanic with a broken-down ship, had just become the unexpected hero who would stand between Earth and total destruction. Back on Earth, the news of the Starlight Fury's success spread like wildfire. People across the planet watched in awe as the small human ship took on the alien fleet. For the first time, humanity saw hope. But Jack knew the fight was far from over. The aliens weren't finished yet. The real battle had only just begun. The battle in space raged on, a fierce clash between the determined human and overwhelming alien forces. Jack Turner's heart pounded in his chest as he continued to weave the Starlight Fury through the chaos, narrowly avoiding incoming fire. His hands gripped the controls tightly, each movement a life-or-death decision. The stars outside seemed to shimmer with the intensity of the fight. The alien fleet had underestimated Earth's resolve, and Jack had made that clear with his devastating strike. But now, the aliens were regrouping. Their forces had pulled back, seemingly to reassess the situation. Jack had destroyed one ship, but he knew that victory in space would not come easily. The alien fleet still outnumbered him, and they had superior firepower. His ship, though powerful, was just one small craft against a vast armada. His communication system crackled, and the voice of General Thomas came through, steady but filled with urgency. "Jack, you've made a real impact. But the alien fleet is adjusting. They're preparing for another wave. You need backup now." Jack's eyes flicked to the status board in front of him. The Starlight Fury's shields were holding, but barely. His ammunition was running low, and he could feel the ship's engines straining with each maneuver. He couldn't keep this up for much longer. "Understood, General," Jack replied, his voice tight. "I'll hold as long as I can, but I can't do this alone." Back on Earth, the military forces scrambled to respond. They had never expected this much resistance. Jack's success had given them hope, but the reality of the alien threat was overwhelming. Earth's best ships, armed with the latest technology, prepared to enter the fray. But would it be enough? In space, the alien commander, Vaxel, watched as his fleet regrouped. He had never expected such a fierce fight from humanity. But now the humans had shown their hand, and he knew it was time to strike back with full force. "Deploy the Omega squadrons," Commander Vaxel ordered. "Destroy the human ship and everything in its path. Leave no survivors." The alien ships shifted into position, their massive forms looming in the vastness of space. The Omega squadrons were the elite of the alien fleet, faster, more deadly, and equipped with weapons that could pierce even the toughest human defenses. The aliens had been holding back, but now they were ready to finish this battle. Jack's fingers hovered over the firing controls as he scanned the space around him. The alien ships were closing in again, their formation tighter this time. He knew he couldn't keep dodging forever. His ship was strong, but the alien forces were too numerous. He needed help, and fast. Suddenly, a bright flash of light appeared on the horizon of the battlefield. At first, Jack thought it was a new alien weapon, but then he realized what it was. More human ships were entering the fray. Earth's fleet had arrived. "General, you did it," Jack exclaimed, his voice filled with relief. The Starlight Fury was not alone anymore. The first wave of Earth's fleet arrived, guns blazing. The alien ships quickly realized they were no longer fighting just one human ship. The battle intensified as Earth's forces joined the fight, their advanced weapons firing in unison. Jack, now bolstered by the arrival of his fellow soldiers, felt a surge of hope. The odds were slowly beginning to shift. But just as the human fleet seemed to have the upper hand, the Omega squadrons launched their attack. With terrifying precision, they cut through the ranks of Earth's ships, their weapons tearing through hulls like paper. The human forces faltered, caught off guard by the sudden, overwhelming assault. "No!" Jack shouted as he watched one of Earth's ships explode in a violent burst. His stomach twisted in dread. The battle was slipping out of humanity's hands. But Jack refused to give up. He could feel the weight of the fight on his shoulders, but he couldn't let Earth fall, not after all they had sacrificed. Taking a deep breath, Jack slammed his hand onto the control panel. "Starlight Fury, full power to the weapons," he ordered. The ship's systems hummed as the energy reserves surged, feeding the cannons and shields. Jack's eyes narrowed as he locked onto the lead Omega squadron ship. It was the key to turning the tide of the battle. If he could destroy it, maybe, just maybe, the aliens would hesitate. It was a risky move, but Jack didn't have time to hesitate himself. He fired. A massive blast of energy shot out from the Starlight Fury, hitting the alien ship dead on. The explosion was immediate and violent, sending shockwaves through space. The alien ship shattered, breaking into pieces that scattered like debris. But it wasn't enough to stop the Omega squadrons. They regrouped quickly, their retaliation swift and brutal. Then, a surprise. Earth's reinforcements, the backup fleet, had come prepared. They unleashed a new weapon, one that no one had expected. The humans had developed a unique anti-shield technology, and it worked. The alien ship's shields flickered and failed, leaving them vulnerable. The tide of the battle shifted again. "General, we've got them on the run," one of the pilots on Earth's fleet radioed in. Jack could hear the excitement in his voice, but he knew the battle wasn't over yet. Jack smiled grimly. "Not yet. They're going to hit back harder. Stay sharp, everyone." The aliens were retreating, temporarily. But Jack knew this wasn't the end. This was only the turning point. The real fight had only just begun. The battle above Earth continued, a fierce and desperate struggle. With the help of Earth's fleet, Jack had managed to survive the first wave, but he could feel that the aliens were preparing for something bigger. The arrival of Earth's forces had turned the battle, but it had also pushed the aliens to act with even more force. As the Starlight Fury glided into position, Jack knew one thing for certain. This fight wasn't over yet. The real test was still ahead. And as the alien ships began to regroup, Jack's resolve hardened. The aliens had underestimated humanity, and now they would face the full force of Earth's defenses. It was time to show them that they had made a grave mistake. The battle was far from over. Jack Turner could feel the weight of the fight bearing down on him. The Starlight Fury was battered, its shields flickering dangerously. Earth's fleet, although reinforced, was still struggling against the relentless assault of the alien Omega squadrons. He knew the aliens had underestimated humanity once, but they wouldn't make that mistake again. Now, with the arrival of Earth's backup fleet, the situation had grown more complicated. The aliens were about to unleash their final strike. As Jack maneuvered the Starlight Fury through the debris-filled battlefield, he received another transmission. General Thomas' voice crackled over the comms, and Jack's stomach tightened. "Jack, the aliens are deploying their new weapon. It's something we haven't seen before, and it's unlike anything we've ever encountered. We need you to act fast. You're the only one who can make a difference now." Jack's heart raced. New weapon. He had already seen the Omega squadrons tear through Earth's ships with ease. What could be worse than that? "What are we up against, General?" Jack's voice was steady, though his mind raced. He couldn't afford to let fear control him. "We've just intercepted a transmission. They've activated a massive energy core. It's capable of taking out entire fleets with one strike," General Thomas explained grimly. "We've only got one shot to stop it. You have to take it out before it fires." The message was clear. Jack had no choice but to make a desperate move. The alien weapon was hidden somewhere in the heart of their fleet. If he could destroy it, the battle could be won. But if he failed, the consequences would be catastrophic. Jack swallowed hard, but his resolve never wavered. He knew this was the moment that would decide everything. His mission had always seemed impossible, but now it felt like it was about to reach its breaking point. "Understood. I'm going in," he said, as he pushed the Starlight Fury into the heart of the alien forces. The alien fleet loomed before him. The starry void was filled with the massive alien ships, all heavily armored and armed to the teeth. Their energy shields glowed brightly, deflecting most of the incoming fire from Earth's forces. The Starlight Fury was just one small ship in the vastness of this chaotic battle. But Jack was determined. He zoomed in on the enemy formation, scanning for any weaknesses. And there it was, a massive, pulsating energy core nestled deep within the center of the alien fleet. It was the heart of their new weapon, the key to their power. The core was well protected, surrounded by the deadly Omega squadrons and a network of smaller ships. Jack knew that getting through that defense would be nearly impossible, but he had no other choice. "General, I see the core. It's heavily guarded. I'll need backup to break through." Jack's voice was calm, but his eyes were focused. "We're sending everything we've got, Jack, but you'll have to act quickly. The core is charging up. If you don't destroy it now, Earth's fleet won't survive the blast." With the clock ticking, Jack made his decision. He couldn't wait for backup. This was a battle that had to be won now. He was on his own. The Starlight Fury rocketed forward, weaving through the alien ships at breakneck speeds. Jack's hands flew over the controls as he dodged enemy fire, his ship jerking violently with each near miss. The air was thick with tension, and the sound of explosions rattled his ears. He darted between two massive alien cruisers, narrowly avoiding a deadly energy beam. Jack's eyes never left the core. It was his target. Nothing else mattered. Ahead of him, an Omega Squadron ship blocked his path, its weapons charging up. Without hesitation, Jack fired his front plasma cannons. The blast struck the alien ship dead on, sending it into a fiery explosion. But there was no time to celebrate. Jack had to keep moving. He turned the Starlight Fury sharply, skimming the surface of an alien battleship as it fired past him. The ship's turret swung toward him, but he was already gone, moving too fast for them to get a lock. As Jack neared the core, he took a deep breath. He was within range, but the defenses around the core were overwhelming. Hundreds of alien ships swarmed around it, their weapons targeting anything that came too close. Jack's mind raced. How could he get close enough to destroy it without being torn apart? That's when the plan clicked into place. Jack fired a sequence of decoy drones into the fray, sending them in different directions to distract the aliens. They didn't stand a chance. The drones emitted a series of false energy readings, tricking the alien fleet into believing a new threat was coming from a different direction. The Omega squadrons began to shift their focus, leaving a gap in the defenses around the core. Now was his chance. With lightning speed, Jack dove straight for the core, his hands moving with perfect precision. His ship was shaking with the intensity of the battle, but he could feel the power surge within him. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting for Earth's future. The Starlight Fury flew directly toward the core, dodging alien fire with a combination of skill and luck. The energy pulses from the enemy ships barely missed him, but he was too focused to notice. He was almost there. Then, in one final decisive move, Jack launched everything he had left. One last missile that would hopefully finish the job. It was his final shot. "Goodbye, aliens," he muttered under his breath. The missile locked onto the core's weak point and exploded with a deafening shockwave. The massive energy core erupted in a brilliant display of light. It was a blinding explosion that sent shockwaves through the battlefield, scattering alien ships and sending Earth's fleet reeling from the blast. The alien fleet was thrown into chaos. Without their weapon, they were now vulnerable. The Omega squadrons faltered, their organized assault disrupted by the destruction of their core. Earth's fleet rallied quickly, their firepower now overwhelming the remaining alien forces. But Jack wasn't done yet. He knew the aliens would regroup, and this was far from over. The destruction of the core was only the first step in a long fight. Still, the odds had shifted in humanity's favor. As Jack took a deep breath and turned his ship toward Earth, he couldn't help but feel a surge of hope. It wasn't over yet, but they had won a crucial victory. And now, they had a chance to push back. The war was far from over, but humanity had just proven that it wasn't going down without a fight. The shockwaves from the explosion reverberated across the battlefield. The destruction of the alien core had sent their fleet into disarray, but the victory felt incomplete. The Starlight Fury drifted through the remnants of the alien forces, its hull battered and scorched from the chaos of battle. Jack Turner sat in the cockpit, breathing heavily, his mind racing with the events that had just unfolded. His mission had been accomplished, for now. The alien weapon was destroyed, and humanity's fleet had pushed back the invaders. But something in the back of his mind told him that this victory might be a temporary one. The comms crackled, and General Thomas' voice came through, steady but filled with underlying tension. "Jack, we've lost a lot of ships. The alien forces are retreating, but I need you to stay alert. There's more going on here than just a failed weapon. We're picking up unusual readings from their retreating ships. It's as if they're preparing for something bigger." Jack furrowed his brow. He hadn't had time to process the aftermath of the battle. It was hard to think of anything else while debris from the alien ships floated through space around him. But the general's words were clear. This fight wasn't over. Not by a long shot. "Understood, General. I'll stay on them. We can't afford to give them time to regroup." Jack's fingers tightened around the controls as he surveyed the battlefield. The once mighty alien fleet had been scattered and broken. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. There was something more to their retreat, something Jack couldn't shake. He had the feeling that the aliens weren't just leaving. They were setting something up. Jack's instincts were proven right moments later. A massive, unfamiliar ship emerged from the remnants of the alien fleet. It was unlike anything Jack had ever seen. The ship's structure was a dark, jagged formation, with pulsating energy veins running along its hull. Its surface seemed to shift, almost as if the ship were alive. The ship was colossal, dwarfing anything Earth's fleet had ever built. The alien forces were regrouping, and they were about to strike back in a way humanity had never anticipated. "What is that thing?" Jack muttered to himself, eyes locked on the enormous vessel. "General, we've got a new problem." Jack's voice was firm as he sent a visual feed of the alien ship to General Thomas. "That's no standard warship. It's massive and seems to be powering up." The general's voice came through, filled with disbelief and urgency. "We've been monitoring it. It's a ship unlike anything we've encountered. We believe it's their last-ditch effort. This is what they were planning all along." Jack's mind raced. The battle they had just fought had been brutal, but it was only a prelude to the real threat. This new ship was their last hope, and if it succeeded, Earth wouldn't stand a chance. "Can we stop it?" Jack asked, his voice laced with determination. "We're analyzing it now," the general replied. "But the size of that thing. We don't know if we have the firepower to take it down." Jack was already moving, setting the Starlight Fury toward the massive alien ship. He didn't need confirmation. He was going to stop this. He had to. For Earth. For humanity. The aliens had underestimated them before, and they were about to make the same mistake again. As Jack closed the distance between himself and the alien ship, his mind ran through countless possibilities. The aliens had already shown their willingness to use overwhelming force, and now they had a weapon that dwarfed anything he had ever seen. There was no room for error. The massive ship was slowly advancing, its weapons charging up, sending shockwaves through the empty space. It seemed to be pulling energy from the surrounding stars, a sight that sent a chill through Jack's bones. The ship wasn't just a war machine. It was a weapon of mass destruction, capable of wiping out entire planets with ease. And Earth was its target. Jack could feel the tension mounting. He wasn't the only one who had noticed the alien ship. His sensors showed several Earth ships, smaller and weaker, moving in to assist, but they were no match for this behemoth. They were just too small, too vulnerable. Jack gritted his teeth. If he didn't act now, there might be no Earth left to save. He had to stop this ship before it unleashed its wrath. His mind raced as he formulated a plan. The Starlight Fury was fast, agile, perfect for hit-and-run tactics. He had a small window to get in close, fire off a strike, and then escape before the alien ship could retaliate. It wasn't much of a plan, but it was all he had. He pulled the ship into a sharp dive, weaving through the smaller alien craft that circled the massive ship. They fired relentlessly, but Jack was faster. The Starlight Fury was a blur in the darkness of space, darting between fireballs and debris. His heart pounded, his breath coming in shallow gasps. In that moment, everything felt impossibly clear. He was the only one who could do this. He was the last line of defense for Earth. As he approached the alien ship, his targeting systems locked onto its vulnerable point, the core of the vessel. The ship's outer shell crackled with energy, and Jack could feel the pressure building. This was it. He fired. A blinding light erupted from the Starlight Fury as the blast hit its target. The core of the alien ship erupted in a chain reaction, sending shockwaves through space. The alien ship shuddered, but it didn't explode. Instead, its core glowed brighter, more intense, feeding on the energy around it. Jack's stomach dropped. It wasn't enough. The blast had only delayed the inevitable. The ship wasn't destroyed. It was evolving, growing stronger. "We've got a problem," Jack whispered, his voice filled with dread. The alien ship loomed in the distance, its core now pulsing with terrifying energy. It wasn't just a warship anymore. It was a force of nature, an unstoppable juggernaut that threatened to annihilate Earth. Jack Turner gripped the controls of the Starlight Fury with white-knuckled intensity, staring at the massive ship through the cockpit's viewport. His pulse raced, but his mind remained focused. He couldn't afford fear. Not now. Not when everything was on the line. The alien ship's weapons began to charge up again, and Jack could see the glowing energy beams building inside the ship's core. The ship was preparing for its final assault. Earth didn't stand a chance against it. The fleet had been decimated, and the remaining forces were too far away to provide any real help. It was up to Jack. "General, what's the status of the fleet?" Jack's voice was steady, despite the chaos brewing around him. "We're scrambling everything we've got, Jack, but we're too far out. That ship is going to fire any second," General Thomas replied, his voice tinged with urgency. "We can't stop it." Jack's heart sank. He had to do something. There had to be a way to stop that ship. The alien forces had underestimated humanity before, but now, humanity's strength would be tested to its absolute limit. Jack's eyes darted to his ship's controls, the various weapons and shields flickering in his view. He had one last idea, a desperate one, but it was all he had. It was a long shot, and there was no guarantee it would work, but failure was not an option. His mind raced through the calculations. The Starlight Fury had already taken a beating, and the alien ship was too powerful to face head-on. But if he could get close enough, he could unleash everything the Starlight Fury had left in one final devastating strike. It was a gamble, a deadly one. But Jack had no choice. He couldn't watch as Earth was wiped out, not without trying everything he could. He set the course, aligning the Starlight Fury directly toward the alien ship's core. He was going to use everything he had left. The ship's remaining energy reserves would be funneled into a single strike, a last-ditch attempt to destroy the alien ship from the inside. Jack took a deep breath, steadying himself. It was going to be close. The alien ship's energy beams fired into space, sending waves of shockwaves across the battlefield. But Jack didn't flinch. He was too close now, too close to turn back. "Here goes nothing," Jack muttered under his breath. He accelerated, the Starlight Fury roaring as it shot forward, its engines roaring with a final surge of power. The alien ship's weapons locked onto him, its sensors recognizing the incoming threat. But Jack was faster. He zipped past the beams of energy, weaving between explosions and debris, the sheer speed of his ship making it nearly impossible for the alien ship to hit. The moment of truth was closing in. He was almost there, almost in position. "General, I need the fleet's firepower on that ship's core. Hit it with everything you have when I give the word," Jack commanded, his voice filled with resolve. "Understood. We'll be ready," the general replied, a faint hint of hope in his tone. Jack's fingers hovered over the final command. His heart pounded in his chest as the Starlight Fury approached the core of the alien ship. The massive structure loomed before him, its weapons now fully charged and ready to fire. The core, where all the energy was focused, was vulnerable, but it would take everything the Starlight Fury had left to penetrate it. With one last breath, Jack slammed the control into position, activating every weapon on the ship at once. A blinding, fiery explosion erupted from the Starlight Fury, its entire arsenal firing simultaneously. The energy beams collided with the alien ship's core, pushing the ship's shields to their breaking point. The shockwave from the blast shook Jack's ship, and the entire battlefield seemed to hold its breath. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. Then, the alien ship's core exploded in a catastrophic burst of energy, sending out a wave of destruction that shook the stars themselves. The alien ship was torn apart, its jagged, living hull disintegrating as its energy systems collapsed. The shockwave rippled across the vast emptiness of space, disintegrating the alien forces and leaving nothing but silence in its wake. Jack's ship shuddered from the force of the explosion, and he was thrown forward in his seat, the console flashing red with warnings. But despite the damage, the Starlight Fury was still intact. just barely. "Jack, did you do it?" General Thomas asked, his voice trembling with disbelief. Jack blinked, trying to focus his blurred vision. The Starlight Fury was battered, but it was still operational. He took a shaky breath and forced himself to smile. "We did it, General," Jack said, his voice hoarse. "It's over." The alien threat had been vanquished. Earth had been saved, thanks to one human, one ship, and the heart of a warrior who refused to back down. But Jack knew this battle was just the beginning. Earth had earned its place among the stars, and there would be more challenges ahead. The universe would never forget the power of humanity, and Jack Turner would be ready for whatever came next. The Starlight Fury drifted silently through space, the wreckage of the alien fleet floating in its wake. Earth had survived, and with it, a new chapter for humanity had begun.